continuous patterns, things to recollect. It's not just the long, deep sleep that comes when the fear has left. The cold is felt, the slipping away of feeling is noted and then succumbed to. The mind functions. Time is distorted, jumbled, telescoped, accordion, but there is a sense of time even so. And I remember things. I remember the way it began. I remember the way it was in the beginning.
Daddy, I think he's lost his mind. He's never been like this before. Tonight he was almost crazy.
What did you say?
Oh, crazy things. That he's some kind of a spaceman and that they're taking over the Earth and that we're all going to die.
Every time faster than the speed of light. Mentally disturbed. When a space agency put me on my project, don't listen to me. They told me to keep in mind the scientific process. And what do we know about it?
Where there is an ill, there is a way. So, be part of the experiment right here on Experimental Ill Radio. What's up, everybody? We're doing, it's episode 104. You can check us out. Go to experimentalill.com. It's August 25th, 2018. I am your host, Michael Phelan O'Toole, a.k.a. your old buddy, Mike O'Toole. We're here on location back at the Penthouse in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm here, special guest. He's going to be performing tonight. You're going to be hearing this later, but he's going to be at Dark tonight in Salem for all the Goth industrial fans, that alternative crowd in Boston. We're going to be talking to Frederic Lenoir. Gonna mess up your name right off. Frederic Lenoir. And you do music, and you're also an animator. You write for animation, and I heard you're kind of a frustrated filmmaker too. But we're going to talk about it. Tonight you're performing as the Wheal, or that's the name of the project, right?
Right. The Wheal is the name of the project. The Wheal is not an individual that I have to live with. It's not my evil tween or something.
Right. It's not like a Clark Kent Superman thing where it has to be.
There is something to it. It's more of a Clark Kent Superman thing than a kind of Fight Club alter ego. Hopefully, I hope so. Unless the Wheal is actually unleashed somewhere in Boston and doing some evil things, which is possible.
That's right. You're from France. This is have you toured the States several times at this point?
It's the third time that I'm touring the States with the Wheal, yes.
They can check out your music at thewheal.bandcamp.com, right?
Yes.
The Wheal, W-H-E-A-L.
W-H-E-A-L, yes.
So what I hear, it started out as kind of a joke. This was like a separate project. And you had another band, 17 at this time, right?
That's right. I was involved into another band that is more like a classical post-punk bass guitar and drum machine thing. And do you want me to hold this?
You can hold on to it.
Okay. I don't want you to be to hurt your arms, holding it. So I've been involved with 17 at this time, which is this post-punk thing for something like maybe 7 years now. And at a certain point, a friend of mine who's from another post-punk band was called Vortex, was invited to perform in Paris, and he asked me that the 17 at this time opens for them, but at that time they were booked by some people who I had publicly declared that I would not work with them, so I could not involve 17 at this time on that bill. That was not possible, and the only way I could be here, which is something that person really wanted, was to create something else from scratch. And the decision was made maybe 2 weeks before the show, so I had 2 weeks to compose some music and come up with the idea of an act. It was supposed to be a one performance thing. It didn't have to exist for any kind of future. So I packed it with like everything grotesque I could come across, including those fetish clothes that I'm wearing for it. And I wanted to piss people off and disappear. And I pissed people off, but I did not disappear because I realized doing it that it was like a great source of pleasure for me.
For you personally.
Yeah, and it was funny, and so another show happened, and another, and it then became the Wheal. The name was Fire Walk With Me at the time, like, you know, I remember summing it up by saying it's Laura Palmer's favorite cassette that she likes to listen to when she masturbates. And
But who is that?
and yeah, it was like favorite Laura Palmer's favorite cassette for masturbation. And that was it was a 20 minutes long musical thing made of mostly 3 songs that still exist, that are still part of the Wheal thing today. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it started as some kind of a twisted joke.
Mm-hmm. I think you said it was kind of inspired by some of the fetish gear that you would kind of wear yourself.
Yeah,
some of the BDSM clubs and all that.
Yeah, at that time I would wear. It was like just things that I would wear at BDSM clubs or like parties and stuff. But I wanted to pack this project up with everything provocative I could come across. So I dressed up in latex for the show, and it was like funny. I mean, and I kept on doing it after.
One inspires the other. Like, is this the Wheal? Is it Frederic? Or that all the line is kind of blurred as far as what is performance and I guess what is just you. And then as far as the gear, I know you've had some interesting adventures, kind of touring and going through the airports with some of this gear. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Oh, I mean, the BDSM gear got me in trouble on my first American tour because I landed in Salt Lake City. And I was supposed to catch a plane from here to get to Oakland, and the Salt Lake City guys were really intrigued by all this like latex stuff, which ended in me being like held in some kind of a custody for 12 hours. So I had to spend the nights on the airport in Salt Lake City. But I was given a Bible, so I was fine. You know, at least my soul was not in danger.
Did they give it to you? Did they say like, please? Could you? Was that like a personal choice? And one of the guards, like, I'm gonna give him this to read while he waits, like, because he needs Jesus in his life, because they're making a snap judgment about the outfits. Is that what it is? Or it was just, is that a standard thing they do? I don't know. Is this a post 9/11 world that we're in?
Oh, I think it's the standard thing they do to anybody, because I mean there are just Bibles everywhere on this airport, like free Bibles. You can take them from everywhere. So it's just the way it is. I think they would give you a Bible regardless of who you are. It doesn't matter. It's not personal. It's that everybody gets a Bible.
Especially will, but did you have, like, I've read on your Facebook and stuff, what kind of the misadventures in the security line, like where they'll take out specific pieces and kind of, you said they held you for 12 hours. Do you see like different places you go, more liberal places, or like?
Well, I think that every place on earth is probably more liberal than Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know it aside of the airport, but I think that's probably one of the most congested places you can pick up to land in the States. I mean, I would probably not got into so much trouble somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Canadian border is kind of difficult too, for like different reasons. It has more to do with economics and how you are authorized or not authorized to work as an artist, and what does it mean to work when you're part of the DIY scene when there is no money. So, but Salt Lake City was the first episode of what's to become airport security, like the airport security show. Yeah, which has become like some kind of a recurrent comedy.
Because for people who don't know, I mean, I first met you I think a few months ago. You had toured the U.S. at our buddy DJ Coro, our buddy Victor Escadillo. He was a famed actor in our friend John Hartman with Real Groovy Films. He's the star of The Shackling and all other kinds of sort of alternative films. And he also runs The Attic, which is a goth industrial, or I guess it's called now it's Alternative Dark Dance is the event that he runs at Machine in Boston. And I know you had played it before, and you came out and you played it, and I was doing video that night for Victor, and we got to see you kind of have to grease up first to get into that leather outfit. Yeah. That's kind of the pre-show ritual, right?
Yeah, that's another joke that we had. It's because on the first tour, Victor asked me if I could do something of like an interview
right.
for getting it online or something.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the only moments I could do it was the moment, because I was kind of late for that show, and the only moment I could do it was the moment in which I was getting ready. So I was like, okay, I can do it, but we do it in the changing room, right. and it means I'm gonna be naked. Right. Is it a problem? And it was not a problem.
Of course not for Victor. No.
Well, it was Victor.
It's an
he insisted that I don't show any genitals out to the camera, and so my butt was okay, but I had to hide the rest of my intimacy. It went okay. I don't think it was too much of a scandal. And it was a funny thing to do.
Victor does he loves the live video, but. Yeah, you have the Wheal has a new. Is it a full album or is it an EP that came out on Goth Horse Records?
It's a cassette that is more like a collection of songs than a true LP. LP, to my opinion, is something that is build up. It has come with some kind of a screenplay or some kind of a story to it, and it's not the case. This is more like a collection of songs. So it's the first. It sums up the first piece that I wrote, the one I wrote for the joke, one hit and run thing, the 20 minutes We Are the Dead record, which was also released as a CD in France, and some stuff that I've been working on here and there, but it's not a true long. It's not a true long kind of some kind of long feature or something. I'm going to work on this, but it requires more work than what the cassette contains.
It's a little preview, that Goth Horse is based in Oakland, California, an independent label.
Yeah, Goth Horse is it's a label from Oakland, which releases a couple of punk bands and synth punk bands. It's pretty cool actually. Well, Oakland is the worldwide capital of cool, but Goth Horse is proud of it. So
that's cool. So how did they hear about you and your stuff? Didn't you have a story where you were in California or something, and there was kind of some kind of catastrophic thing happened or something, right?
Oh my God!
That?
Yeah, but lots of catastrophes happen in California. Yeah. So
we had our buddy filmmaker John Hartman was talking to me on air, and he lived through the LA riots and all that. So a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, this is wild for sure. No, we didn't have anything as wild as the LA riots when I first got to California and got along with Sean from Diacaris, and who was also at that time a member of the Diesel Dudes, and who is running Goth Horse as a label. So there were some catastrophes, but nothing too nasty.
Wasn't there? Didn't you have a song "Bodies" that you only did only would do on the East Coast or something?
Oh yeah, so that's a sad thing actually. That's a sad and serious thing. It's not a comedy at all, unfortunately, because it also happened that the first time I made it to California was 1 week after, or maybe 2 weeks after, Ghost Ship, that independent Oakland venue, caught fire and burnt, causing the death of something like 50 people, talented musicians and members of the industrial synth punk scene in not only in Oakland, not only in the Bay Area, not only in California, but like all over the States. So it was like a real catastrophe, and I still today come across people that have like lost their loved ones to that tragedy. And it was when I made it to Oakland. I mean, it was really, the air was still like, you could still feel the ashes in the air. It was like all about ashes and tears, and it was pregnant to a point. Sean, who is not renowned for being the most delicate guy on earth, asked me that I remove the song Body from my set, because there is a line of it in it that goes, "I'm the dead body of somebody you loved." And I mean, this was like just reality for lots of people. And my first reaction was to say no, because I don't want to do like any compromission or stuff
artistically, but then.
But as soon as I made it to Oakland, I mean, 5 minutes after I had made it to like the first venue and got to meet some of the people that were touched by this tragedy, I made the decision to cut the song from the set, and I didn't do it until I was on the East Coast, because it just was not needed. So lots of the other songs was already after death, was already about death and grieving, and how do you cope with the loss of people you love and stuff. So it stayed here. I mean, it's part of what the Wheal is about. But Body was out, for a long time. Yeah,
that reminds me of talking about post 9/11. That right after 9/11, I remember a bunch of songs like on mainstream radio they would pull. Like I remember there was a song "Bodies" by the band Drowning Pool, where it was just "Let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor." That song, things like that really were pulled like for a long time.
That's tough. Well, and, well, I don't want to make like comparisons between things. I mean, 9/11 is a political thing. Ghost Ship is an absurd tragedy that has nothing to do with like politics or.
I know that was also around here. I think it was in Rhode Island. There was a club, the Station, that I think the band Great White was playing, and they had like pyrotechnics that kind of went like awry. They weren't supposed to have them, and that club burned down, and it was a big tragedy.
Well, but it also had like a worldwide impact, because I mean venues were closed in France after Ghost Ship burns. I mean, because it was also, of course, exploited by the authorities to state up the fact that DIY scene is like a dangerous thing, and like DIY punk is like.
Do they try to like blame like this is what the scene is like it's more dangerous or something? Or?
Well, as far as I remember,
because what actually happened at that? It burned down.
Oh my God, I don't have the details of it. I don't remember it, and I think that there was something wrong with the electrical cables or something, and the exits were not designed in a way that it would be easy for people to get out. I'm sorry, I'm like getting emotional with this now, because some people just could not get out of there alive. Most of the people that were here could not get out of there alive. I remember that some friends got out, then come back to others did not come back after this. And well, I cannot count the people that I know who lost people that were like really close to them and they really loved. And I mean, I was talking to someone about this like yesterday, I think. And so it was a catastrophe, and not the kind of funny catastrophe I like to laugh about. I mean, there is nothing to laugh about with Ghost Ship.
So you said with the Wheal, you kind of in your music, you're dealing with kind of like loss and things like that, but you also kind of describe it as like a dark romanticism there too, right?
Yeah, there is grief and there is love and there is pain and there is death and there is also lots of sex. So
It's a very sexy show.
when you bring those two things together, you get romanticism, which is all about being.
But the French know all about. They have quite a reputation for romance, I think.
We are very good at this. We are very good at being both desperate and having a hard on. I mean, we're really good at this.
If you need two things to be good, yeah, I think that's a quote too. What a world it would be if desperation was a turn on. Like,
that's a very.
I don't know who
good way
said
to
that,
sum it up,
but our buddy, another artist and writer and filmmaker friend of ours, D.L. Polanski, who's sort of known in the Allston, Massachusetts area, would often say that in his kind of, talking about generally like that, like you talk about being a DIY artist, kind of that pursuit of. Maybe you're not just in it for the glory, but, fame means an audience, and that means a way to sustain yourself and stuff. And so I think he would, as a graphic artist, he would put his art out on the street, if he couldn't get into galleries and stuff. So I think, and also, I think he was looking for a boyfriend as well. So he was also like, what a world it would be if that desperation was, turn people on, Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna investigate. I'm gonna dig that guy. I mean, it seems like it's
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna dig it.
He is, and a filmmaker too. And it's interesting. We talked about how the tape on Goth Horse from the Wheal is sort of like a shorter thing. And you mentioned a screenplay. I think it's pretty cool. I talked to a lot of filmmakers and kind of doing this show. Kind of was an outgrowth of doing an independent film festival with my friend Lawrence Holly, who's out in L.A. California now, and kind of having done video stuff for a long time, I would consider myself like a frustrated filmmaker because I'm working on a Super 8 film with our friend John Hartman right now called El Terrifico, with Victor as the star, and
I got a few clues about that.
Yeah. And with also presidential candidate Vermin Supreme. He wears a boot on his head, and he's kind of the most known, lesser known presidential candidate here in the U.S. But yeah, I think it's being a frustrated filmmaker. How you relate an album is like a screenplay. Almost you're talking about like almost like a concept album that I don't think many people really do now, especially like younger bands and newer bands, because it's all about like Spotify and cherry picking all these songs. You don't really have a whole.
Well, you can probably come up with a concept that is like a screenplay in 3 fucking minutes if you're really good. I mean,
it's a short. It's a trailer. That's like we're not even making a whole movie. We're making a trailer with El Terrifico. So it's a world we live in.
There is a movie, and I think it's one of the. It's one of the many sequels to the Romero's Living Dead thing that is very important for the Wheal actually, because I sampled a lot from these movies. But one of them, I seem to remember, it's one of the sequels. It's not from Romero's. Romero always does a great job, and the movie sucks.
George Romero, it's like Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, that one. The movie I'm thinking about, I can't remember the title, but it's one of the many sequels that were done like after Romero's work. It was like really crappy.
There were a ton of bad ones.
That's one of the bad ones. But if you just take the opening credit that was like this beautiful Johnny Cash songs, and the ending credit that was like just like some fake real pictures taken by a broken camera, and you put this together and you cut like the whole of the rest and you throw it in the can, dude, you get like the best zombie movie ever. So you can be really good and relevant in like a very short time.
It's like if you re-edit it, it's like a fan edit.
We need some kind of a radical cut, like you do 99.9% of it and you throw it away, but which the studios would probably not do, but they should. And they would get like some real decent material, which they don't have with this movie because it sucks.
That's right. So let's talk about you describe yourself as a frustrated filmmaker. Like where in the timeline of you, it's like where does that you introduced to music kind of comes first, or
in a timeline of my life, it's like totally entwined together because I started doing like punk bands and stuff in the like cold wave era, like in the middle of the 80s, as I was like at the last moments of being a school kid, and I started trying to exist as a filmmaker at the same time. So doing short films or like working with directors as third assistant, stuff like this. So it was like kind of entwined, and sometimes it would rather be conflictual than harmonious. Well, youngsters are generally speaking not very harmonious and very conflictual, and there was no exception. For instance, I could have been coming to America much earlier in my life. I was actually offered to go to America when I was like 15 or something and try to attend like this big university that they got in California for movies.
It's like a film school kind of.
Yeah, it was not. It's like the film school shit, and I didn't do it because I was in a band, and I was like, oh my god, I want to stay here because I want to be in a band, I want to be rich and famous.
There's being conflicted there.
Yeah, which was, and it's maybe one of the wrongest moves I did in my life. I don't know. I mean, it happened. I'm here now, and I'm happy to be here now, and maybe I would have had a very bad life if I had been like a California kid at 16. But I could do it, and I didn't do it because I wanted to be in a band. And so it's like the two things always coexisted. And I learned to nurture, to use one in order to heal the frustration from the other. Like, I cannot get that movie produced. Oh, it sucks. I'm so angry. I'm gonna plug my bass and hammer it, you know, or I have no idea for that music thing. I don't know what. Oh, let's write about how I feel, and it becomes like movie material. So that's the way it is. As far as being cinematic, I came to learn, and I think that I learned it through that tour, that my definition of happiness, in general, would be moments in which your life looks like a fucking movie. And I should have
movie life.
I think that's my way. It's probably stupid, but
what does that mean for you? The Hollywood ending kind of things, like where things work out?
No, it's not only like Hollywood endings and stuff. It's just like cinematic moments in which, well, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, and I got a lot of this when I'm in America, probably because I was grown up with watching American movies. So my definition of cinematic is like
American, like very.
The dialogues are in English, and the music is like rock and roll and stuff. Instead of if what it would be if I had liked Jean-Luc Godard much more when I was young, you know. So yeah, I mean my definition of happiness is like a collection of cinematic moments, and that tour has been the most cinematic ever.
This tour specifically?
Dude, it's like. Is
there anything? Moments from the tour that you can reveal on the record? Exciting times.
It's been like New York was a comedy, which is not a surprise. Chicago was a queer punk dramatic romance. California was a drug-induced road movie. No big surprise. Nice. Los Angeles was some kind of a thriller. Kind of Clockwork Orange related thriller. Portland was a romantic movie. I don't know about Denver and Richmond yet because it's like so fresh that I cannot. I don't know yet. I might know within a few days, within a few hours, maybe. Clear. I don't know. I'm still living it, so it's been crazy. It's been crazy.
So what were those? Did you do like about 3 short films when you were?
Oh, you mean we're talking about real movie making now?
Well, I'm kind of relating it back to.
I
just want to get back to
yes, I did.
As
when I so wanted to be a movie director, I did 3 short films. Yes.
Do you want to talk about those, or is it?
Well, we can talk about it. It's not that it's not as if it's that interesting. But
I'm interested in as far as how the film kind of relates to the music and all that, and I would say definitely seeing the Wheal performance is, like you say, cinematic. It's definitely like a performance art kind of a thing too. And you also
somebody told me there is a theater side to it.
Yeah,
somebody
theatrical.
told me this in Richmond actually. Those very interesting artist called Naim Outlaw, who is doing Hunting Dog, as a project told me that
What? Hunting dog?
Hunting Dog, yeah, it's a check it out.
That's a
It's
performance art thing?
well, it has, yeah, it's a very performance art thing. And he told me like if they told me like they would like perceive the Wheal as a stage thing, like in stage play, not like in like stage rock, like in stage.
Well, for people who don't know, like you kind of program in the music and stuff, and you have kind of like sound loops and things.
Yeah, it's kind of sound loops. I almost play nothing live except the control or lack of control that I'm having on the effect pedals and mostly the echoes that I'm using for my voice.
And there's a big drum there.
And I
big.
bang a drum
Yeah.
when I can get one. I want to have it in dark tonight, for instance.
Oh, they have to supply the.
I would use an electronic percussion instead, which is good too. It's more precise. That's the first time I'm doing it, and it's more musical in a way. It's less cinematic, but it's more musical.
Right, not that big like banging that big bass drum.
Yeah, that's part which
Get
is
the anger out.
Yeah, it's about getting the anger out. It's also kind of sexy. I was told about it. It's like well, I think yeah. So yeah, it's part of this like ritual and visual aspect of the Wheal.
There really is like something about having that drum. Like I don't know where I would have seen, but that's like kind of rallying people. Like kind of gather around with that drum is really there's something primal about it.
It's also the reason why I use it. I mean, if you're out having a beer, talking with your friends, blah blah blah, and the show is starting, and it pisses me off that you're not here, you're gonna hear that drum, buddy, until you come in, because I'm not playing to an empty room, motherfuckers. So get here.
There you go. Plight of the independent artist: get a big drum, and, like bang the drum.
Or don't care about it. Or don't care about it.
That's awesome. And you said, I guess we'll talk a little bit about your family background. You said kind of growing up. I know, like you mentioned your grandmother on stage.
Oh my God, I did this. Oh fuck yeah, I remember now. Yeah, I did this. My grandmother died last year, and I loved her a lot. Mm-hmm. I was like mostly raised for a long time by my grandparents.
Mm-hmm. So was that my grandmother, and we definitely had our ups and downs, but then they're there for you, kind of.
Yeah, grandmothers are like strange creatures.
Right.
They're like
they weren't
weird.
all about me coming into the world, but then you're here, we'll take care of you. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was like ambiguities about my birth, I think, with my grandmother too, but she loved me a lot. I think she was a kind of a difficult personality. There are lots of people that she hurted, and she would never hurt me. I mean, I'm one of the very few persons that she never hurted. So she was a tough person, and she also came up like from an old background, from an old south of France family,
an old school way of,
in a very old school way of being, and so she had like some kind of like far right thing to her. Like she was the one who brought me to Mishima and many wonderful things, but I mean, there is like a side effect to it, and like definitely a dark thing.
What was Mishima? Is that like a?
Oh, I'm talking about Yukio Mishima, the Japanese writer.
Oh, okay. She introduced you.
To Mishima's work, which was like really one of the most important things that I came across. But she was never this kind of like stupid far right Goonie fanatic, but there is something that she and so I always knew that when she would go, I would play that song from Sol Invictus that is called Against the Modern World, because she was so against the modern world, and so I did it. I mean, I played maybe not on the day she went, but a few days after. And I did it. I mean, I played the song, and it stayed for a while. I mean, just because it was like a good ending. So there is like some kind of a sulfurous like reputation to Sol Invictus and shit. And but okay, I don't care. I mean, it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful title, actually. though I never read the book that it's from, the book from, I think it's Julius Evola that it's from, and I don't think that, I seem to remember that a singer from Sol Invictus said that he didn't read it either because he doesn't give a fuck about this like far-right shit. But he liked the way, and I can understand it, it sounds against the modern world. Dude, it's brutal. So, so yeah, I did Against the Modern World for my grandma, and I was part of the set for like a year. I did another Sol Invictus cover for this tour, but I only played it once. The song is The Fool, and like a medieval fool figure, and has to do with the Summer of Fool title that I chose for the tour and stuff. But I made it into
what's the name of the tour? Summer of
Fools.
Summer of Fools.
Yeah, and which was probably prophetic about the craziness of all this. and the version I did from Sol Invictus, The Fool, is such a grotesque disco thing that I think that it has killed all the sulfurous potential to it. I mean, it's really it's like I made it a disco hit. So you cannot.
The sound kind of it's supposed to be deeper and darker than it sounds.
You cannot scare no one with this. not with this rendition. I mean, the only person who could be scary and that disco would be Mark Almond, and I still need to work a lot before I can get to that level. So no, you can definitely listen to that version of The Fool, of Sol Invictus, The Fool, and it's like there is everything that could be like edgy is killed. I mean, promise.
You said you're a fan of The Cure, right? Like that kind of.
Who is not?
Moody, right, of course.
Unless you're deaf, I mean, who is not? I mean,
it can be kind of sad and sullen, but still get people excited with their music, I think. So how do you get into so you're a frustrated filmmaker, you're a musician, but how do you get, and then you said your grandmother introduced you to that writer.
Yeah.
But how do you get into writing for these pretty big animation projects?
Oh, we're talking about Miraculous. We're talking about the adventures.
We're working our way there. Sure.
Yeah. Well, when I wanted to become a filmmaker in my maybe early 20s, I did a school that was kind of. It was at that time France still had a socialist government, so the government had an interest for culture. And those guys realized that they needed a new generation of scriptwriters for young audience and like animation stuff. Yeah. And they created a school for it. And I and a bunch of other guys, we attended this, maybe 12 of us or something. And it happened that this whole portion of the media industry exploded like 3 or 5 years later. So we were like exactly at the right time and the right place because there was a huge need for stories and there was a huge need for writers and for shows, and there were like maybe 25 of us, like between the old dudes and us, the new generation. So we got all the work that we could, and we made animation a big thing. I mean, we made French animation a kind of top shit international thing. And it's also at that time that lots of punk, post-punk, new wavy references were like used into the stories because that was the background we were like coming from. Cool, yeah. So the show I think you would think about when you recall that generation would be Cowboy Bebop with a Japanese wonderful existentialist kind of Western-like show that is so beautiful. But I mean, there was like lots of others, and we were doing our things too at that time. And so it happened like maybe 10 years ago. One of the, I think, best animation directors in France actually came up with this idea of Miraculous Ladybug that was like a female superheroes with a kind of girl power touch to
That's
it.
right. I mean, it's the right time for it now. I mean, now that all that stuff. I mean, I love comics and superheroes and stuff like that, and of course movies. And now the Marvel movies are huge.
Yeah.
So superheroes in media is like huge now.
Yeah, and that's the thing that bloke Thomas is like so. It's such a like a superhero fan. I mean, I think he's the absolute superhero fan. But he had got this like idea about a superhero that would be a female character and would have like a girl power touch to the stories.
So how long ago did you that's been going for a while now,
well,
right?
animation stuff, it always takes a lot of time. It's a huge sums of you gotta raise huge sums of money. You gotta convince lots of people.
And Miraculous Ladybug it's kind of like a CGI style.
It started as a 2D thing. There is another version of it that is like very popular among like early fans because it was like really made like in a kind of Japanimation way. It was very beautiful, but the decision was made that it would become a CGI thing, which also changed the whole thing and explained that it needed years, like additional years of being like in development before it would like exist. And then it was a first season that became a big success.
There was a third season. Yeah, you can check this out. This stuff is on Netflix, and it's Miraculous Ladybug.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
it's like one of the three. It's among the three like most popular animated series on Netflix, and we just won this big prize in America actually like 10 days ago, I think, when that was like it comes from Fox, so maybe it's like a prize from the devil, but still it's a
You
prize.
shook hands with the devil.
Still, it is.
So this was a French. So Miraculous Ladybug starts out as like a French thing, and then it kind of imports to America. It gets popular in France first, or
it's more. I think it's more popular in America than it is in France. I think it's more popular everywhere than it is in France because
that's interesting.
It's huge in Brazil, for instance. I mean, huge. It's like it's like a society thing. I've seen a picture of.
They have like a kind of a cult following.
Yeah, I've seen a picture of one of these carts that they use for the carnival and stuff, and it was like maybe 300 big bulky guys dressed as the female character on top of that vehicle. So which is like so cool.
It's a great time. I read like there's a movie. They're working on a movie, or it's gonna.
They are working on a movie, but we, and I mean it as the core of the writing team are not involved on this, or we have ambiguous relationship with this. I don't want to talk about it because it would like cross the line between like corporate kind of discussions.
Right. But I'm just like relating it to again. It's like Wonder Woman came out. That's huge. And the Wonder Woman movie finally. I mean, culturally that was huge because people have sort of the vague recollections of like Linda Carter, in the U.S. as Wonder Woman, and of course in the comics, but. And then also interesting talking about the BDSM stuff. I forget I think the creator of Wonder Woman. I think it was a guy, but I remember I think it was like his wife or something was like getting on him like you got to make a female hero or something. And I think there was a connection with her, her lasso of truth, the golden lasso. I think that's like a BDSM thing. I think that was kind of his thing, like I'm gonna have her tie me up and make me tell the truth,
Of course. It's also funny for French people because I think that one of our like best songwriters, Michel Polnareff, I think he was married to the actress who did the first like kind of Wonder Woman thing. So the French always had a crush on Wonder Woman, which is not a big surprise. I mean,
Now they have Linda Carter was Wonder Woman. She's on the new Supergirl show they have now. So I'm just thinking it's like I think these kind of things kind of come in waves, but I mean definitely like superheroes in media, TV, and movies and things, and then like you said, the girl power thing. It's like a perfect time for something like Miraculous Ladybug, where she's a.
I think that's the reason why Miraculous Ladybug is popular. I mean, it's because it's like it has to do with like changes that are happening in like modern society now, and that are maybe the last kind of
the modern world.
Yeah. So we are not against the modern world after all.
Certainly not. Certainly not here.
I'm sorry, Granny. I mean, we're not against the modern world no more.
That's right. I mean, do you think she kind of took issue with some of your kind of the BDSM wear and the alternative scene, or or
there is always a complex relationship between all those far right ideologies and BDSM anyway, because all of this has to do with a fascination for death.
does it? I don't know.
It is no big surprise. I mean, dude. I mean, like, if you look at the
I guess the dark, right? The goth industrial kind of dark.
Lots of aspects of the BDSM culture would borrow imagery from fascism or like the dark ages of religion. So it has to do with a fascination for the dark side and death and stuff. So it's always ambiguous.
So you have like the far right people who are maybe more religious or conservative.
I don't know.
In that way.
I don't want to have anything to do with the far right people. I don't give a shit about those guys. I have no interest for them. I have no interest for their ideologies. I think it's like scientifically wrong. So period. I don't want to lose 1 minute of my time, talking to morons.
No, right
those
on.
guys are so fucking stupid. I mean, if they would like follow their own rules, they would just like get into their own fucking oven, turn it on and burn.
Well, it's usually people who are the most hard line about their beliefs, that they are the ones who have the skeletons in their closet.
Well, also maybe. Well, I would rather have these guys have skeletons in their closet than wanting to turn us into skeletons. So,
Right.
I mean, these guys should definitely fuck more. I mean, that would be better. Anyway,
That's right.
I also sometimes I was in trouble because of the way the wheel looks and because of the fact that I'm banging
So
a drum.
provocative.
Could have like something like could relate to like early Joy Division imagery, or like kind of Little Drummer Boy, which is like kind of really fascist. And I also have like short hair and stuff. And there was some.
The nail polish, it's looking good.
No, the nail polish is okay. To some very PC West Coast punks, that was like kind of suspicious, So this is really
More like kind of the hardcore punk.
types. I mean, these guys like to hate, they like to have an enemy, and if you look like the enemy, you can like get in trouble, and which I don't like. I mean, if you function in with the same pattern that the people you pretend to hate, you should stop hating them. I mean, if you accuse people of stuff, judge them, beat them into a pulp because you think they're fascist, guess what? You are a fascist,
Right.
So,
Live and let live.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, so, but since we were discussing it, I mean, I seize like now any opportunity to say it, the fact that I have short hair doesn't make me a neo-Nazi, right? So, and well, I wouldn't do too good as a neo-Nazi because they don't take Jews in the SS. So, and I just I have no interest for any kind of far right ideology. I think it's just not interesting.
There you go. I agree. And let's talk about the what's the other animation you got into? Dragon Hunters. There's another show. You said you're a Cure fan, and they actually use a Cure song as the theme song, right?
I remember this. Oh my God, I think that's my biggest professional frustration. Oh, I'm gonna say nasty things.
What
now.
is it? What is it?
Well, when we did the Dragon Hunter thing,
Describe what that is too. That's another kid show, right?
Dragon Hunter is a kid show that's it's also one of my close friends, another director, and I think I mentioned Thomas as one of the best French directors. I could definitely mention this one, Arthur, as also one of the best directors in France as far as animation is concerned. So more than 10 years ago now, he came up with the idea of like a kind of post-apocalyptic world that would have been become like a sort of new middle age thing, and a couple of heroes that would be like making a living by hunting and slaying dragons, but they are definitely like no knights in shiny armor. They are like the absolute opposite. So
Like flawed hero.
one of them is like the cynical business kind of handling guy who just wants to make money, and he exploits his big bulky friend with some kind of a retard and an emotionally fragile guy, and they have this like bound, like they love each other.
It's like the gentle giant guy.
Yeah, there's the gentle giant and the greasy kind of crook figure, and so that was like absolutely funny.
He's the huckster kind of.
Yeah, there was like really funny characters. I mean, the second I saw them, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be big, and I was right. It became big because I mean, they were like the characters are so cool, and I don't remember who got the idea to talk to the Cure about this, but that was a fucking good idea. And at that time, the Cure were not considered as the godlike geniuses that they are considered as now. They were kind of like has-been guys. Well, while paradoxally, they were recording the trilogy thing. That is one of the most beautiful live.
So when was this?
It's the beginning of the 2000 years. You know, it's like yeah.
So that kind of played a part in their like a resurgence for them.
Oh, I guess. I mean, it's like it probably just rather like coexisted.
Right.
It's like well, the fact that all this like 80s.
Robert Smith was on that South Park episode where he turns into a mech, a giant.
Yeah, that's at that same time. That's the same kind of moment in history.
So they're kind of back in the front of pop culture stuff.
Yeah, well, and that was before that was before they became
Robert Smith fights a giant Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, I remember
Godzilla
that. That was too funny. That was too funny. Well, South Park was like it always was exemplary. I mean, talk about like a freaking
social
good
commentary and popular culture.
Those guys really nailed it like for years, for decades now. I can't stop to admire these guys. Anyway, somebody talked to the Cure about Dragon Hunters, and Robert Smith agreed that he would do the song for the credit, and the production sent the director, not François, who was like not involved anymore at that time. He was working on a long feature movie, while the song was made for the TV show. So they sent somebody else to London to work with Robert Smith instead of sending me.
So specifically, I thought it was one of their regular songs. Was it specifically for the themes, the show?
No, sir. The true story is that Robert Smith wrote it for Dragon Hunters.
And then did it become popular on its own, separately?
Then let me finish this.
Right. I'm jumping ahead.
That's a cool story. You gotta let me handle this story. So Robert Smith writes the story, and he literally falls in love with the show because it talks to his like working class background. Like you know,
Really?
it's very British. I mean, those guys could be British. You know, the heroes from the show. So and he writes it. I'm not sent to London, and it pissed me off to a point
That they didn't choose you to go to work with them directly.
Well, dude, I was writing the show, so I knew about the characters. I mean, I was at that time. I was like, I've been working on a long feature movie for 6 years. It's 6 years of constant writing about Dragon Hunters. I mean, I became the characters. I mean, no one on earth knew them at that time better than
So were you kind of the main writer at that point, or is there like a writer's room or something that's?
There was a writer's room, but it was not a collective writing about it. And I really think that though I didn't start it, that's another writer that started it. I took over from his work, and I became like really immersed into it to a point that I think that I was really like the writer for that show at the moment. And they didn't send me to London. Dude, they sent somebody who didn't even like the Cure, but he just wanted to hang out with like stars and shit.
Right. Star fucker.
I remember that they were like working, and they would like call me from the studio in London, and I was like, get Robert on the phone, and he was like, no, you're not talking to him, you're talking to me. And I tell him, and then I tell him what you told me, and I was like so frustrating, and I could literally hear the guitar, and I could hear the bass.
It was Robert playing.
It was Big Bob playing that song about my characters, and I cannot talk to the guy. Dude, I was so furious. And finally, I did this. I came out with the idea that they are working class heroes, and the fact that I used the word working class heroes allowed Big Bob to come up with the song. So I really participated in it, but we never talked, which is so fucking frustrating. Then the story is not over. Then we do the long feature movie. Time passes and shit. And we receive a mail from Robert Smith. I mean, we, writers, directors, Bob Smith writes to us, not the other way. Not the other way around. And he says, hey guys, what's happening with the long feature? Do we do it? Do we do it or not? And the bosses didn't want to do it.
So was this a movie?
Yeah, it was a CGI long feature movie. And there was, at the moment, the decision was made not to use the Cure's work for the movie for various reasons. Some of it being like also money related, because Robert Smith liked the show a lot, but not to a point it would work for free.
Right.
Yeah, and Robert Smith's time cost a little bit of money. I mean, right, you know. So the decision was made not to use it, but none of us had the guts to tell him. So no one replied to that letter, which means that we are the guys who were like, ignored Robert Smith. Dude, I want to die when I think about this. It's so horrible. My life as a musician would be completely different if things had turned otherwise. And this is the reason why he was so pissed. He never told us. He never talked to us anymore. And he was so pissed that he took back the song that he had written for Dragon Hunters and put it back in a Cure's album. So the fact what you were saying a moment ago, which is that it's a Cure song that was done for the Cure. No, baby, it was done for Dragon Hunters. But he got so pissed that we never even replied to him, which is how unpolite, how rude can you get?
But that wasn't your decision.
That wasn't my decision. That was definitely not my decision.
Decision.
Yeah, and it's been like lots of arguing about it. I recall one of my friends told me, you should not be involved. This is because you're a fucking groupie. And I was like, I'm not a groupie. We should work with them.
Well, you finding a way to work with your heroes is always.
Yeah, I mean, it's always so well. And anyway, I mean, the song that was written for the opening credit, and I'm also talking about the lyrics here, was very good. And I really think that the Cure would have made a wonderful work on the long feature movie, which was darker and more dramatic. Actually, no pop act was used, also because the budget was so tight. We used one of the songs from the original scores that was written for the movie, and it became the ending credit because we just could not pay for like an ending credit song. So it's not only a snobby or stupid decision, since it was very frustrating and it pissed the Cure off to a point that it took back what they considered was theirs again, and it became the song that it's renowned for, as I think it was the Cure like self-titled album at that time.
Mm-hmm. So what was the song specifically? Do you remember what the name of that track is?
No, I don't remember how it's titled in the Cure's album. I probably could sing it, but I don't remember. Well, it's not my favorite Cure's album, though it's good. It's a good one, and I don't remember how it is titled.
But wasn't that song though? Is that still the theme? Is Dragon Hunters is still going on, or is that's the theme that they ended up using, right?
Like a legal conflict or shit. That would have like forced the production to remove the song. Just
what was the reason that was it?
Took it back. That's all. I mean, you know.
But what was the reason specific? Was it like a financial reason why they didn't respond to him right away by using it, and then he decided we're just going to take it back?
Part of it was financial reason. Part of it was artistic decision that was not mine, but still was an artistic decision. You know, I mean, at a certain point, some people decided, and including some people I do respect, decided that it was not a good idea. That it was like maybe, I don't know.
It just didn't work for a theme song.
Yeah, I mean, if you work with the Cure, it also means something. You know, it brings a specific like color to the movie. I mean, you know, and if you and at that time it's
were they trying to? You said the movie was sort of darker. They were trying to go for like a little older audience or a wider audience, maybe, or.
I think it's the other way around. I think that the corporate side of the decision was like, if we use the Cure, we make it teenager, and if we make it teenager, we are cut from like the younger audience, so we are not distributed in the same way, and we are not making the same amounts of money.
So that was like we were going to try to do that, and then we're like, maybe let's not change the formula so much.
I guess, and it's a shame. I mean, it's a shame because the TV show went popular with the Cure song on it, and it looks great, and it sounds great, and it's so cool. So
they get some money every time that's played, or
I guess Big Bob gets money every time that play, which is like fair. I mean, it's his work, right? I don't get any penny, though. I came up with the working class hero thing,
and that's what inspired him to say, did someone come to Robert Smith or come to the Cure with the show, or did they?
I don't
reach
remember.
out,
I honestly do not remember.
But it was because he liked that work. It's because he liked that working class heroes.
Oh yeah, I remember because I was like really monitoring this through the phone.
Because you're like, oh my god, like I'm such a fan. Like Robert Smith's gonna do, like, give me the updates at least, right?
No, it was not like this. It was not like I'm such a fan. It was, this is my show and we work on this, and I have to.
So you're protective of it too.
Yeah, I mean, it was about making it right. It was not about. I was wrongly accused of being a groupie here. I mean, I was not really. No, we are serious. We animation guys are serious people. We deal with the brain cells of our children. So this is a fucking serious.
That's right. Influencing the kids, right? That's a criticism of. I just saw the Mr. Rogers documentary, that Won't You Be My Neighbor, that came out, and he was always critical of like the typical Saturday morning cartoon kind of shows that.
Well, so you got to do something against this. So according to this, at least. So no, I wouldn't. I would not. I did not think as a fan at the moment. I thought of what the opening credit song should be as a writer, and I did my job. And my job was to make way that Robert Smith, who I cannot even talk to, would understand that it was about being, that these guys were working class heroes, and that it was some kind of a socialist thing to the show, because this is what it had to be. There is something like socialist to this show.
So there's definitely like a social commentary going on in your writing too. So to find a way for kind of, even though it's maybe something that's more commercial, I think it's admirable. I think it's cool that, you can get something of your own personal, ideology into the writing and stuff. Right. I think a lot of people writing they say, oh, this is just a kid's cartoon or whatever, but I think you're able to get something interesting in there.
If I hear somebody say this is only a kid's cartoon, that one is going to be in trouble. I mean, no, this is serious shit. I mean, and you cannot, like, there is no it's not possible to do some like compromission with this. Right. It's serious. It's art. It's serious. I mean, it has to do with industry, and we work with like devilish people who just think in terms of like profit. But fuck it. I mean,
Little TV world.
Well,
corrupt.
there is
businessmen who.
There is a line in Miraculous, in the show we were talking about together like a while ago, that is like a recurrent. It's part of the rituals, and the character says it's time to de-evilize. And I think this is what we writers are doing on a daily basis. Every day is a good time to de-evilize.
I think that's awesome. Anytime you can do that in your art.
I've been told that some of the guys that some kind of hardcore Miraculous cosplayers might show up at dark tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. I would really like to see this.
That's awesome.
Hanging out at a Wheal show,
That's awesome. Because Miraculous Ladybug, she has the dark kind of domino mask over the face, and then it's like isn't it like a red and black?
It's a red and black shit. And I mean, her partner,
which also the Wheal merchandise, the T-shirt is red and black too.
I merchandise more about the male character actually, who is like dressed in latex in the show. So it's, in a way, it's kind of like.
Oh, is that her sidekick?
Yeah,
or her?
The sidekick was called Cat Noir. Is dressed in latex. So I mean, how obvious can you get?
There's a lot of comic book characters that definitely, especially in the '90s too, and a lot of the women and the men too, definitely. Like a Black Canary, who always had the big black boots and the fishnets, and there's definitely a BDS kind of thing.
If you think of like the early
Batman,
the early Avengers show, if you think of a Batman, there's lots of fetish shit to it. Of course,
putting on these animal masks and alter egos and stuff. What's the other big one is Code Lyoko. Is that another? That's like a
We're
CGI
talking
cartoon.
much more about animation than music now, but it's okay.
It's up to you if you want to.
No, I'm good. I'm good with this. I liked Code Lyoko a lot. So yeah, Code Lyoko is like, it's like almost 20 years ago now. I think 15 to 20 years ago. That was one of the first really like good CGI shows that we had, partly CGI shows that we had in France.
And you mentioned Japanese animation. Does this kind of looks like that a little bit?
Yes,
or-
I mean that's the thing with Code Lyoko is that it was one of the first shows to use the codes of Japanese animation and bring them into a mainstream TV aired French. Well, it's always got international, but French TV show.
Was it primarily? It was French, and then it gets imported to the States.
Well,
or-
it's always animation is so expensive that it's always international from the start. So the creative team was French, but I mean, money always comes from different countries because it's so expensive. It's like it's probably the most expensive programs you can get. So you got to raise money from everywhere. And yeah, I mean, Code Lyoko it's not officially our thing. I mean, as the Miraculous guys, but it happened that I wrote the first episode to it, and Thomas, who became then later the director of Miraculous, did the storyboard art for the first episode. And I think that we were not friendly at that time. We were like even like unfriendly, but we had.
You're still trying to de-evilize.
We had the same love for Japanese animation, and nobody understood exactly, including us, what Code Lyoko was about as a story. But it's always, when you create something.
Well, so you're the writer too, right? Somebody else is animating this stuff, right?
I could not animate thing to save my life. I couldn't draw a character to save my life. I'm all about words, as you can tell. Blah 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 blah. So
it's cool, man. I'm with that.
At that time, we didn't even know what the story was about or what we wanted to talk about. What we knew is that it had something to do with Japanese animation. So we came up to this like big like Akira references and stuff. And at that time, it was like something. It was still like an underground thing. I mean, no, it was not like established as it became after.
So what's the timeline? Like, what year did you start working on this? Was that you were at the beginning?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely. I was at the very early beginning. Somebody, the how do you say that? The concept was from someone else, but I was involved even before there was like a line of dialogue and so was Thomas. So you were pretty early.
So you were in this program, you said, and they kind of. So what are they?
Oh yeah, so that's bring us back.
So was this what was like? I guess. I mean, it's up to you how deep you want to go. But I'm just trying to like. So you're in this program and you learn about your. I mean, you must have had inclinations toward writing and things like that anyway.
Yeah, I had inclinations for writing, but at the moment I wanted to attend another school that is the one most of the famous French directors emerged from. Godard was from here and stuff. That was called l'IDEC, and then that was called La Fémis. And at that time they had this like some kind of a. You had some tests to pass to go into to be admitted, and I knew that I had to be like some kind of a hypocritical about the way I was writing, and so I picked up this animation for kids for television thing because there was like three things that I had no interest for in it. Kids, because I didn't care about them at the time. Television, because I despised it at the time. And animation, because I didn't know it at that time. So I was like, okay, those are three things I don't want in my life. Guess what? I'm going to learn to write for this. And if I can write for this, then I can be so much of a hypocrite that I will be admitted into that prestigious school that I want to do.
So that was like an FU. I can do that, like kind of a challenge to overcome. Then that you weren't you were going to take it on as like a challenge almost because you weren't necessarily into that stuff.
Exactly. In a way, there is a connection to the wheel. Kind of a joke that turns out to be fucking serious.
It becomes your thing. Yeah.
Maybe that's my pattern.
That's your moral.
Yeah, I guess.
You're getting through it.
So I never made it to the prestigious school because they knew I was a hypocrite, and they didn't take me in.
But how many of those students end up working on something like Miraculous, Ladybug, that becomes a
Oh no,
a big hit,
dude,
right?
no. At best, they are doing like boring auteur genre movies that nobody gives a fuck about. And,
You're still here,
while
hitting it.
while we, the geeks, are having fun.
Exactly.
But at the moment,
Well, now the geeks rule. I mean, now
yeah,
that
but at the
it's
moment,
Revenge of the Nerds.
If you, we tried it. I mean, if you at that time, if you would come up to TV bosses and say, "Hey, guy, I have a great idea. It's about kings who murder each other, and you got naked chicks and dragons," they would say, "What? What? It doesn't interest anybody. Go back to Dungeons and Dragons, you fucking moron." And now it's like, no. Well, we all know the story now, right? It's like, so yeah.
And that's the show. That's
Time change. Times are changing.
so was Miraculous. What was the first project that you got thrown into, like, that became a regular thing for you in the program? Did it take a while before Miraculous, or?
The first show I worked for as a professional writer was Highlander. Actually, there was an animation version of Highlander.
Must have come to the States. I think didn't you do like a Swamp Thing or some other? I think I was looking you up. Highlander, I guess it might have been. But I don't know. I'm a fan of all that, the Ghostbusters cartoon and all these other great cartoons here that come to America.
I didn't work on those. The production for Highlander was half French, half American. I mean, those were the guys who did the Highlander movies.
But that was a big American thing. Definitely is like here's a popular movie or something. Let's make a show, or let's make a children's cartoon out of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But well, the
Or the toy line comes first, like He-Man was really popular here, but it was action figures first and then a cartoon.
Yeah, well, it was same kind of story. And then that was the first thing I got to write on, and it's a long time ago now. And then it never stopped. I mean, the phone kept on ringing when I needed it, and the money was good. And
Was it just yourself, or did you end up getting like an agent or anything? Or
no, it was just myself. I have an agent now, but it's not having an agent in like the animation business in Europe is not as important as it is in the movie business in Los Angeles. So shit. I mean, it's not that important.
So still like with music, basically you hustling, gig to gig kind of.
Yes. Well, though I don't have to hustle as far as animation is concerned, because I was among the Magnificent 13 that started the whole shit. So I mean, we are.
So you were the guys that incubated the whole thing.
Yeah, we've been here from day one, so we never had to fight for it. The competition is way different now. I mean, because at that time there was like, if you would add us to the older guys, there were the whole of it would be maybe 25 people. I think now it's like 2,500. So it's really different.
So now the resume kind of speaks for itself because they know. Yeah.
Well, yes,
awesome.
Of course, and we've been here forever. So, and especially now after Miraculous, and especially now. I mean, now in terms of days after we kicked Rick and Morty's butt
Did it really?
Yeah, we did. They came number 2, baby.
In the ratings,
number 5. Steven Universe is something like number 3. Rick and Morty is number fucking 2, and we are fucking number 1. So, and which is good.
I think you will see some Miraculous Ladybug cosplayers then, because I know all the alternative kids love the Rick and Morty and all that kind of stoner comedies and stuff.
Well, guess what? The stoners came number 2. Silver medal, fuckers.
I always wonder, clearly Rick and Morty's riffing off of Doc and Marty from Back to the Future, and I wonder how they get away with that if they ran it by somebody.
Actually, they are. I mean, it's in terms of writing, it's an amazing show. I mean, I can speak on behalf of all the core of the creative team for Miraculous. We love Rick and Morty. It's exemplary. It's extremely well written. It's not only provocative and
so for a little older audience. Then,
yes, of course it is. But still, it's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant. It's definitely brilliant. But we have been hearing this for 2 years. Oh yeah, but you guys are not doing Rick and Morty. So I mean, it's still satisfying.
Oh, you're right, cartoons, but it's not Rick and Morty.
Exactly.
That's the cartoon for that alternative crowd now.
It's cool that we can say give a big finger to those guys and say, guess what? Silver medal number 2. Go yourself. And I also think that there is. I mean, Miraculous Ladybug is a mainstream show. So there are things you can say. It doesn't change anything to the amazing talent that radiates from every fucking second of Rick and Morty. But there is things you can say in the context of a like teenager, edgy, kind of punk, stoner shit show. And there are things you're not supposed to do in the context of a mainstream CGI, bright colored, supposed to be like so everything's fine
all
show.
bright and everything kind of resolves. She has her challenges, but it kind of resolves itself by then.
We did a good job, I think. We did a good job, including in covering our tracks with this show. And I think it might have a real impact on people. I mean, it has a real impact on people. Our bosses don't like us. I mean, us writers a lot. I mean, they would rather don't have to deal with us anarchists and stuff. But
is it a writer's room of anarchists? And is this the exclusive that Miraculous has?
no. I think lots of.
Which is cool, by the way. I'm cool with that.
Lots of people who write for children have a conscience, and the heart beats at the right place, which is on the left. If you don't have a body problem, so no, it's not like a miraculous thing, but what doesn't happen a lot is to have this conjunction of conscientiousness. Is that the correct word? Including political conscientiousness and huge success, huge mainstream success. You know. And,
So you didn't have to water yourself down too much, right?
We have to be careful, but we never watered ourselves down, never. And when we could get to the fans, which doesn't happen a lot because the bosses would not like or pay for our plane tickets or shit to go to
like
big
conventions and things. Yeah,
for instance,
Comic-Con.
We are going to Comic-Con next year, but this is a decision we just made, and we are going with our own money because they wouldn't have us here, you know. But we went to Japan Expo in Paris, like at the beginning of summer, and it was like crazy. I mean, there was like hundreds of kids, and
it's like I'm big in Japan. That's like the saying, being big in Japan. Like I totally imagine how they would.
Well,
love
the show has just started to be aired in Japan, like weeks ago. It's not even 4 weeks, I think. Wow. It was aired in Japan, I think, a couple of days after I left France for that tour. So, and I don't know. I haven't talked to the friends about this. We talked about other issues. We were on a strike just before I went, so yeah, that was kind of
on tour.
Yeah, that was kind of rock and roll too. Okay.
Punk rock.
I don't know what's the impact in Japan. I know it's aired in Japan, which is already important. I mean,
so are there like super fans and things that will kind of like track, like when they find out that you're a writer for something? Is it like like groupies with a band? If they find out that you're a writer for a show like that, you know?
I don't know, because I always kind of was cautious about it. I don't want to exploit anything because that would be so lame.
Right.
You don't want to do this. Right. So I was, but I'm not hiding it.
Yeah,
I mean, why the fuck would I do it? I mean, it's the person that I am. And my friends from the Miraculous team encourage me not to hide it. Like, hey, guess what? You know, you're just doing it.
I think it's coming for you. There's a definite, like you were saying with the cosplayers that might just show up to the gig. There's definitely like a crossover almost, even if it's unintentional.
I would like it, actually. I would like it. I mean, one of the songs that I'm using for the Wheal tour for this, I was done for a Miraculous episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because at that time we needed a song.
So you wrote the song?
Yeah, because it was needed. I mean, the bosses wouldn't provide the money to do it.
Like fast track it.
Yeah,
and get Frederic to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, okay, we have to come up with a song. What do we do? And then it was like change for the definitive like episode for many reasons, some of them being absolutely non-moral, and so I did exactly as Bob Smith did. I took back what was mine,
and use it yourself,
and I'm using it myself. So I'm not singing the Miraculous lyrics to it.
So you did that as a musician, and I was thinking like as a self-described like frustrated filmmaker. Is there ever like a script or something that's in something you write for Miraculous where you're like, or maybe something that you can't say in Miraculous? You're like, I'm gonna save that for something of my own.
Honestly, I don't think there is anything I can't say in Miraculous. And if there is something we can't say in Miraculous, we're going to work on this until we get an angle that allows us to say it. It happened sometimes. There is an episode that we had to work like maybe 1 year and a half on before it could actually be aired, because we had to come up with an angle that would allow us to go under the radar and still work. So, but no, there is.
What does that mean? Like, do you ever come up with stuff like under the radar, like anything that kind of references like stuff for adults and things like that? Because it appeals to maybe a wider audience.
Stuff for some, there is some like unspoken, sometimes totally spoken rule on executive boards for TV channels that are like, programs are not supposed to raise questions. Programs for kids are not supposed to create a dialogue in the family.
Right, like, mommy, why is that guy doing
why
that?
Why is this guy attracted to another guy instead of attracted to a girl? This is like a random statement. Of course, it has nothing to do with Miraculous. And so the bosses would tell you, we don't want this because we don't want any question. But guess what? The kids need it. I mean, they need it.
Especially like we said in the modern world.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna run into it.
Yes, and guess what? You stupid corporate guys, if you don't give the kids what they want, you're not making money, you fucking dummy. So at some point, we have to make way that the kids get what they need and the bosses think that they get what they want. So
riding that line.
So that's the under the radar thing. But there is no subject that we could not talk about in Miraculous. So I never was in a position to say to myself, "Oh, I couldn't say it on Miraculous, so I'm going to make it into a song." I mean, it's just
or a film.
It just doesn't happen to me. It doesn't exist.
Is it just a different side of yourself, kind of a different part of your brain?
It's a different tool.
Just a different medium.
It's a different media. It's a different set of tools. That's the only difference.
What was you said as far as being a filmmaker? This is going back a little bit. You you tried to make a feature or something?
Oh yeah, I did 3 short features, and I started to work on a long feature. I actually had it like 90% of it was budgeted, the casting was okay and stuff, and it exploded because that was because it was like a little bit like too rock and roll for the because
you got too punk rock again.
It was very punk rock. I mean,
I love punk rock.
I worked with comedians with actors that were like really punk rockers. Most of them were involved in punk bands and stuff at some points of their life. Either as when they were younger and when they were like still like being comedians. So there was lots of madness to it.
Fair dose of madness. Who said you need? I think Henry Rollins from Black Flag, who I love, said like you need a little bit of insanity to do great things. So
maybe we had a little too much of it, but it's also or
like Hunter S. Thompson levels insanity. Like,
well, there are lots of movies that are as crazy as rock bands. I mean, there are lots of movie directors that are as pretty much fucked up as any punk rocker. I mean, can you get more punk than Francis Ford Coppola? Can you get more punk than, I don't know, the guy who did The Exorcist and Cruising and stuff? You cannot beat William Friedkin on being a punk. I mean, this is just not possible. You're gonna get your butt kicked. I mean, if you play that game. So, and the guy is like 80 something. So, we're definitely working with the same kind of energies, but I think that at that time, I mean, the producers stopped it, so it was like too much for them. Maybe it was too much. Period.
So they were trying to kind of manage things for you, and they were like, okay.
Oh, they just cut it. They just stopped it because they knew that they could not like. It wasn't
the content? It was just managed like.
No, it was not
maintaining
the
the crazy personalities.
They had no problem with the content. I give them that, though it was kind of a controversial story.
If you want to talk about what film was about?
The film was about like it's funny because we are going to Salem.
Oh yeah, Salem,
Like
dark
the witch
tonight.
trial
Yeah,
and shit, and it was about a witch trial, actually, like a real witch trial that took place somewhere like in, I think it's like 1484 or something, and there is some kind of a mystery around that real case that existed. I did lots of research about.
So this was based on.
This
a real
was, this was based on a book that the Inquisitors wrote for the Inquisitors. You know, like some kind of a manual, like some kind of a procedure thing, which is called Maleus Maleficarum, the hammer of the witches. It is like the hammer to break the head of the witches.
What? Oh my God!
It actually was already used in as movie material because there is this like old movie called Haxan. Haxan. It's like an old black and white movie which has a lot to do with which established in a way the aesthetic of Satanism and stuff. And so yeah, I came across this book when I was when I wanted to attend there is a loop here. When I wanted to attend the famous movie director school, the one we were talking about. Yeah. So in order to get into it, part of the contest was that you have to come up with like some personal research work, and my personal research was about this book, and then I wrote a movie about it. That was kind of a minimalistic story. It's kind of twisted love story, punk love story between a priest and a witch, and
Also, we talked about too in what do we say, kind of in the alternative culture or the goth culture, the kind of conservatives being kind of against it because it's like a fascination with death.
Yeah,
which is kind of a similar.
No, that was also it's also at the same time that I was young at the time that I was introduced to BDSM and stuff.
BDSM.
So, yeah, so it was like, well, all of this like connected together, and but the producers, once again, I have to give them credit for that, didn't have any problem with the fact that it was like some kind of a subversive, somewhat porn movie, but the way we were handling it and the apparent lack of control and the apparent danger to it, like finally made them worried to a point that they would like stop it before somebody got hurt. Maybe they were right. Maybe we would have all died if we had done this. I don't know.
That's like, was there going to be did they think there was going to be a curse put on them or something?
We were hoping for it. I mean, my crazy friends and I were actively hoping for it. We wanted the devil to participate to the making of that fucking movie. You know, the devil was wanted on the set. So, and that was the end of my career as a filmmaker.
beginning and the end. Well,
yeah, that was the.
What year was that then?
Well, it's not over until it's over, and so maybe I will come back to make movies sometimes. You know, it's still I still have time to do this. I hope.
Sounds like you're in the right crowd. It makes me think of our
guys
buddy
are
John
filmmakers,
Harmon's. Yeah.
right?
I'll help you do something. Sure. I'm happy to go back and record audio for John's for the Super 8 film.
Yeah,
audio that he missed.
I've been working for a long while until this. I mean, I've seen like
it is a marriage of sort of that alternative scene here and kind of the goth industrial crowd, I think, and filmmaking. Yeah.
It looks cool. I mean, you know,
we should get in there. We should get a soundtrack going. I'm sure John would love that stuff.
Of course, I would gladly do this.
That's awesome. What should we tell? Anything else about the Wheal or about music or?
Go to the show tonight. That will be the last of the tour. I unfortunately had to cancel the show at Montreal. I cannot make it to Canada except by throwing in tremendous sums of money that I cannot raise.
That's interesting. We talked about all the animation stuff. That's your day job, right? That kind of funds the music.
Yeah, because I always come back from tour like broke as fuck. But wow, the fact that I started in animation a long time ago and I was at the right time at the right place when I started established me in a way that I'm not a rich man, but I'm not poor. So and I can like take long breaks and holidays and stuff, and coming back to like reality, and still I can get it together, and it's not a complete catastrophe. So yeah, it's like I'm a very lucky guy as far as this is concerned, and not only because it provides like some comfort and stability, but also because I love doing it. I mean, I'm sad that the story is over and I have to go back, but I mean, I'm going to get back straight from the airport into the writing room. I'm not joking. This is what's going to happen.
Right on, hit the ground running.
Yeah. Like,
that's punk rock.
That's punk rock.
Punk rock,
That's
writing, filmmaking.
Punk rock because I was stupid enough not to take in account like the time difference.
The time difference.
So
isn't it? Didn't you say 6 hours
late? In the writing room.
Salem, Massachusetts, USA,
Yeah.
back into France.
It's like 6 hours of difference, and I was like stupidly. I counted on my fingers, like, I'm taking off like Tuesday night at midnight from JFK, so blah, 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 blah. Oh, it makes 6 in the morning, so I can be like right on time in the writing room. Guess what, buddy? The time that I borrowed on the way in, I got to give it back, because you only have...
This is like vacation time or something.
Yeah, so I'm going to be late in the writing room, but that's where I'm going to go. Well, as soon as I'm like out of the plane. And so in a way I'm sad because it's over. In a way I'm happy because I'm coming back to like my friends, and we're gonna do like some, we're gonna raise some hell with Miraculous again, and this is cool.
Right on. I think you kind of find a cool. That's what I think most independent artists too hope for too, is to have a day job that employs something of their creativity, and then that you can also find a way to financially make it work to explore your passions and stuff like the music. That maybe doesn't do it.
Incredibly lucky.
And coming from some adversity too, we didn't even talk about it. This is going way back, but didn't you? Your parents have an interesting history.
I come from a conflictual family background. I don't know if we still have time to talk about it, or if it's even relevant to talk about it.
I thought it was interesting. Didn't you say something in World War II?
To keep a long story short, my grandparents emerged from the World War II conflict. My grandfather and my grandmother were heroes in the French resistance. They were close to Lucie Aubrac and stuff. I mean, they were heroes. And my grandfather got something like 48 medals for it. My grandmother got zilch because she was a woman. And that's the only fucking reason.
That goes back to our right place, right time theme. The modern world. If she was in the modern world in 2018.
Yeah, the modern world that she hated.
Female heroes.
Isn't that paradoxal,
That's right.
Isn't that so fucking paradoxal? But she never had any single, though she was sharing all the risks, Those Nazi guys were not sexist.
Weren't they
They would kill everybody the same,
Women and children, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you say somebody was a secret agent kind of a thing, or they were kind of? I guess you said the resistance or whatever.
Well, they were. The whole resistance thing was about being secret agents.
Right,
So, and after when World War II was over, and de Gaulle was put in charge of rebuilding France and stuff. I mean, he teamed up with his guys, So he incorporated the guys from the resistance into the governments, or. As far as my grandfather is concerned, it's not exactly the government. Those guys were not elected. Those guys were placed. It's like the mechanisms that are besides under the government, which is even much more powerful. And so he grew up as a servant of the state after World War II, and he became involved in police activities and secret police activities and counter spying stuff.
What was secret police activity
Well,
what side was he on? The good guys' side?
It's always difficult to say. I mean, because those guys came from.
Your parents are still around?
My grandparents are both dead.
This is your grandparents.
Dead today. I mean. I really think I admire my grandfather a lot. It was my best friend. It will always be my best friend, and I know that he had an absolute sense of morals, and but he got his hands dirty from times to times. I mean,
is that all we can say?
He definitely got his hands dirty, and because those guys who rose from the resistance rose from a world in which you had to get your hands dirty because people were putting women and children in gas chambers, and you got to stop it. So they did what they had to do in order to stop it. And this generation of guys, I think all of them, they had this kind of ethos through their whole life after that there is law and legal, and there is moral and values, and when there is a conflict between them, you stick to your values. So there are like bright sides to the character and dark sides to the character. These guys were also like very like anti-communist kind of guys, because to them ideologies was horrible, to them, because they knew like the Shoah and stuff. I mean, ideologies was like this huge like mass murder thing. So, well, it's a different generation. And then my parents were children from May '68, so it's the complete opposite. Those are like the left wing revolutionaries that we had at the moment. I mean, it's not Bader or Meinhof, but it's not far from it. I mean, those guys were not like flower power, like hippie guys. They were fucking violent people too. So, I was physically in the middle of the conflict, because one of the things that crystallized the hatred that existed at a certain point between my grandparents and my parents was the fact that I existed. Because my grandparents that were like on the side of government and power and stuff, and they had like means to their ends, made the decision that I could not be raised by rebellious kids from '68 that were potentially dangerous because they could like go bonkers and become terrorists at any minute. So there was like violence action. I was abducted as a child by police officers. So no, I come from a pretty fucked up.
So kind of taken away. So did you want to? I'll go on the chopping block. Yeah, my grandmother was sort of nice, Catholic, very, and raised her kids Catholic and everything. And then when I was coming into being, my mother's a single mother, and it was like there was it was all hush hush and everything, and there was talk about abortion and things like that, which kind of is a conflict with the Catholicism point of view.
Here in the States, it's still a very serious issue. We are kind of past that for now in France. It could come back. I mean, it definitely could come back, because we are not like running backwards. But here it's like a serious issue. So I'm not surprised that it could be like a problem. It's like in your in your family history.
Yeah. So then for me, it's then obviously didn't go through with it. Here I am, and my grandmother ended up coming around and taking care of me when my mother, other people, mental health issues run in my family. And of course, you've always, talking to artists, I always find like kind of artists who deal with, depression or anxiety kind of use their art to express themselves.
The same kind of pattern. I mean, it's the scale is maybe a little bit different, because your grandmother didn't have the secret police to work for them.
That's right.
But it's the same story. It's like,
So is that what it was for you when you say there was, if you don't mind mentioning it, you said that there was conflict about you existing or something? Is that?
It was not about me existing. It was about me being. My grandparents would not tolerate that I would be raised by anarchists.
So they were there was a conflict with their own kids, where they're like they can't be the parents.
Absolutely. And there was they convinced themselves that my mother could not be a mother, that she was not like.
And they were gonna make that choice, that decision.
And they did it because of the ethos that they grew up with. Is make a decision, make a stand. It's not legal. Fuck it, do it anyway, because you feel that's the right thing to do. So, they always loved me, but they hurted lots of people. I mean, around them, as far as the family history is concerned. I mean, as far as his political work was concerned, my grandfather, I think, was really always on the good side. Sometimes a little bit edgy, but always. Yeah, but it was really on the good side.
That's awesome. Then you can kind of work it out then in the music, in the art, that anger and that emotion in there.
It's here. It's definitely here. I mean, you're the product. You know this. As far as I know this, as much as I know this, you're the product of your history. So it's.
Well, my mother also got me into like poetry, and she did watercolor and poetry herself, and always doing journal writing and things like that, using creativity to. Sort of cope with things too.
That leads us
also the craziness of my family too was also, it's it's a lesson where hopefully you're like, okay, I see that, and I acknowledge, and hopefully you don't want to repeat those patterns. Take the good things with you, and then kind of pack your bags. And for you, it was going on tour.
I have the same kind of feeling that we have to evaluate and be a little less fucked up than our parents. So hopefully my son is a little less fucked up than I am, and so on and on and on and on. So but it's like we are here for a reason. You are hosting the show that's the radio show for a reason.
Right on.
I'm hanging around dressed in latex and screaming a microphone for a reason, and it's like our family history.
And hopefully connecting gives me an excuse to connect with people like yourself, and kind of hopefully put that out there for other people to see that you can kind of overcome some shit and still keep making shit.
Yeah, it's what it is all about. So I think we are like.
Yeah. I think we're good.
Cool.
I think it's cool. I'll try to maybe stick some.
I definitely need to go.
Sure, man. Right on. Appreciate it. Frederic Lenoir.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I usually only get to teach rude words to people. So.
Right on. Do you know some French words you can?
Oh yeah, sure. I told Charivari from Void Vision yesterday, who was playing in Richmond. We were not playing on the same show, but we could get together. I love her. We've been friendly for a while, and I taught her how to say "fuck your mother" in French, and she says it beautifully. She told me she will maybe use it at the end of a song, and she's gonna whisper it in a way that is gonna be so sexy. So I'm very proud that I could teach her how to say this.
Oh yeah. How about the last thing is what did I don't know if we got it. I might have heard you telling somebody else this, but where does specifically the name The Wheal, Wheal, what is that in reference to?
The Wheal is a B-side from a Coil record. This British crazy guys from the early industrial days, in the early 80s, and one of the band that emerged from Throbbing Gristle and those guys. The Coil guys, I think that's one of their first single that is called The Wheal, Wheel, and they did some twisted remix on the other side that they called Wheal. And when I was trying to pick up a new name for the project after I made the decision that I could not go on with Fire Walks With Me because there was a new season, like a sequel to David Lynch's Twin Peaks and stuff, and I didn't want
Oh, that was you based off of Twin Peaks?
Yeah, of course. It was the Fire Walk, the Fire Walk With Me that was used.
Wasn't that the movie, the Twin Peaks movie? I think, right? Or
yeah, well, it was. But it wasn't the TV show. Yeah,
I gotta check that out. That's on Netflix.
It was maybe more important in the movie. I mean, the line was maybe more important in the movie than in the TV show, but it was important in both. And so
David Lynch, definitely a punk rock filmmaker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I needed to take a distance from this, and it's always the same thing. I just randomly put on some tracks on my MP3 player, and The Wheal came up, and I tried it again, and The Wheal came up another time, and I was like, okay, who am I to discuss with Coil's Wheal, So I just did what the crazy British dead guy wanted me to do. So.
Right on. That's awesome. So The Wheal.bandcamp.com is where they can get your music, right?
Yes.
Anything else? Any other sites or anything?
No, I think we're all good.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks, everybody. This is your buddy, Mike O'Toole, a.k.a. Michael Phelan O'Toole. Check us out, experimentalleel.com. Go there, over 100 episodes. Cool to connect with The Wheal. And then you're not going to tour around, you said, until May 2019, right? That's probably not.
Probably not, because I got to focus on, I got to be present for Miraculous and stuff.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
So you can check out Miraculous Ladybug on Netflix. You're prominent enough as a writer in there that they can put on any, is there any specific, they'll see your stuff on there.
Yeah. It is. It's I'm part of the core of the show, so it's pick up any episode and there will be some little bits of me into it.
Check it out. Girl power, superheroes. Have you gotten to be kind of I don't know if you were a superhero guy before. Have you gotten to be because of working on a show like that?
I always was kind of a geek too, so of course I've been a superhero guy, but I was not as crazy as some others. I would have been more into like horror stuff, like medieval shit, like witchcraft and stuff.
You got your own costume, and you have your own
that's very
name.
True.
That's your own, be your own hero.
Well,
the Wheal.
There's definitely a connection between like any kind of fetishism and superheroes. I mean, it's about like. Or being it's the same thing as being a drag queen, I guess.
And mask acting. They say
it's like bringing your inner personality to the surface. So yeah, of course it has to do with that.
So do it through a mask or a microphone. In my case, mask acting. You put on the mask, and you're a different person.
I've seen you do stuff like that too. Like I've seen you like performing in wigs and stuff. And
wigs or makeup or something. Yeah. Yeah, you put on a costume and do something goofy. You don't feel as funny about it, I guess.
Exactly.
Hopefully, there's a statement in there. But I don't think escapism isn't too bad either, as long as you can kind of come back to your life. I think there's a little bit of that with like BDSM too, having this other life.
Yeah.
Right on. I think it's awesome. So Frederic Lenoir, thewheal.bandcamp.com. Check us out, experimentally.com. Thanks. I'm gonna see you guys later. Facebook.com/Mike O'Toole. Twitter, Mike O'Toole. And Instagram, I'm Michael P. O'Toole. And until next time, persist to get ill.
tient sur les eaux. Il disparaît sous l'arche d'un pont, mais plus loin, réapparaît de nouveau et tourne sur lui-même comme une roue de moulin. Un maître de bateau à l'aide d'une perche l'accroche au passage et le ramène à terre. Avant de transporter le corps, on le hisse sur la berge pour le ramener à la vie. Une foule compacte se rassemble, une foule compacte se rassemble. Ta chevelure dorée, aux tapes aussi fines, les fleurs ont des épines en nos jardins d'été. Du crépuscule de feu, aux blessures littéraires, le souvenir de tes yeux hante mes jardins d'hiver. Je dis et c'est vrai, le cadavre reste inerte, il se laisse tourner en tous sens et il se frotte les tempes, il frictionne ce membre-ci, il frictionne ce membre-là, il souffle pendant 1 heure dans la bouche en pressant ses lèvres sur les lèvres de l'inconnu. Il lui semble enfin sentir sous sa main appliquée contre la poitrine un léger battement. Le noyer vit, à ce moment suprême on put remarquer que des rides disparurent du front du cavalier, il aura rajeunir de 20 ans, mais hélas les rides reviendront peut-être demain, peut-être même avant qu'il n'ait quitté les berges de la Seine. En attendant le noyer ouvre des yeux de terre, n'est pas un sourire blafard, remercie son bienfaiteur, mais il est si faible encore et ne peut bouger que furtivement. Sauver la vie à quelqu'un, que c'est beau, que c'est bien, et comme cette action rachète nos fautes, l'homme aux lèvres de bronze occupé jusque-là à l'arraché de la mort remarque soudain que les traits du jeune homme ne lui semblent pas inconnus. Il se dit qu'entre l'asphyxie aux cheveux blonds et l'autre là, il n'y a pas tant de différence. Les voyez-vous comme ils s'embrassent avec effusion? Les voyez-vous comme ils s'embrassent avec effusion? N'importe, l'homme à la prunelle de chasse tient à conserver l'apparence d'un rôle sévère. Sans rien dire, il prend son ami, qu'il met en selle, il le maintient en groupe. Ils s'en vont. Ta chevelure dorée, aux tapes aussi fines, les fleurs ont des épines dans nos jardins d'été. Du crépuscule de feu, aux blessures littéraires, le souvenir de tes yeux hante mes jardins d'hiver. Jardin d'hiver.